And now let's talk. Well, Jimmy Gill not with us this morning. Joseph Cannon filling in. Jimmy probably didn't want to get up early. You're welcome anytime. My favorite councilman up here this morning, Joseph Cannon, with a big meeting last night. What happened? And then I'll talk about what the mayor said in the paper this morning.
It was a shorter meeting. We did have the Athens High School girls basketball team came up there. They got a proclamation for winning everything, it seems like. And I got to say, what stuck out the most, though, is Coach Murphy. He said that their combined GPA for the first semester was 3.7.
Yeah,
Really?
That about got a standing ovation. I mean, that's insane.
Yes.
I mean, those girls were. I don't know if I had a 3.7 if I did just PE.
Speaking of Athens girls, I talked to Randy White yesterday morning. I got through spinning over to Jim with Dusty, and I asked him, these Lauderdale County girls in Rogersville are about to break the record. Randy said he had it for like 3 years, and then Eddie won 3 until his season after Randy retired. That's when I think they won 60 or 70 something in a row. And now these girls are within 3 or 4 breaking it over that way.
Wow.
They're pretty good over that way. And ran into your brother-in-law the other day at Stanfield's. We were over there Friday, ran into him. He said, tell you hello.
Yeah, he's the smaller one compared to
Yeah, you're real smart. The mayor this morning, the good Mayor Ronnie Marks, they're all still celebrating the 2,000 jobs coming in with Polaris. And Decatur Daily this morning quoted you talking about it. And what are your thoughts on that coming in?
Well, great. Happy about it. I mean, that's kind of like what we're there for. Trying to, get the mayor made a good point. He said, we worry about public safety, we worry about education, we worry about job growth. And he said education and job growth go together, and they do. But this is one of the big ones that we got to do, and it's great. And it'll be great for our utility department too.
Yeah, because
they'll be our customer, and that's kind of where we look.
Madison officials
That's
got their
to me.
feelings hurt because they didn't know anything about it until the announcement Friday.
How does that happen?
Hey, that's Madison City or Madison County?
Madison City, because Madison County was in on it, and I got to give a shout out to our new Limestone County Commissioner too, Mark Yarborough, for doing a super job on that. Hey, Mayor Ronnie Marks says unbelievable 2015. He says leave it to Joseph Cannon, City Councilman, as he appears on Cooper and Company tomorrow morning live to say everything about it. He says hang with us. I know we're going to have some challenges. It's going to be a lot of fun. What is the mayor referring to, Mr. Cannon?
I will say that we are having more and more executive sessions talking about a lot of things that are coming up. And
like what?
Executive matters at the moment that the end of the road will be great. I mean, this is where you earn your check right here though during these sessions, because it is nitty-gritty, but we got a lot going on. We got a lot of.
So we folks here in Athens, citizens, have a lot to look forward to.
Yes.
I would say so. I'm excited. We got a lot to do to get there. I mean, we're not the only place that wants
Is it true
growth.
you're the only member of Athens that has jogged the entire new sidewalk from one end to the other?
I think so.
I would trust that would be an accurate statement.
I think when it warms up, we'll get a couple more maybe on there. But I found out that it's almost exactly 10K from my house to my brother's house, and so I don't want anybody to go say, well, they did that sidewalk just for him to run 10K. But
that's not what it's for. I've seen people pushing kids on there and everything.
I have seen some safety. I mean, it helps with safety. And there's a smaller sidewalk on Hines Street that I'm real proud of, because I've almost run over people there, and
we do the park quite often, Swan Creek thing. Back to the Mayor Mark, he says 5 more projects are being worked really hard right now. I can't elaborate right now, but Joseph Cannon can tomorrow morning on the program.
That shares a lot of information on that little article, isn't it, Joseph?
I think it's 4 Home Depots, and I don't know the other one. It may be a Cream Delight expansion.
Yeah, Cream Delight. Yeah. Well, I did hear 2 years ago that Home Depot was coming in, but never heard anything else about that.
I hear there's so many things. I hear about it. Things just on the. I have heard rumors before that came true. But still, they do a good job at letting us know when we need to, and a lot of times we know project. It's a project first, and that's not that, I mean, they'll let us know everything about what's going on, but not necessarily the name, and that's sometimes good. There's a lot of things you don't want leaking out.
They did a survey the other day talking about what people want here, citizens want, and you're out a lot, downtown or whatever, and your people in your district too. What do people tell you they'd like to see Athens get that we don't have right now?
The number one thing I hear probably is the Italian restaurant. A good, I guess, the Olive Garden, or I hear Bowling Alley, of course, and then the TJ Maxx, the Kohl's, something like that. The TJ Maxx one, I wonder why that hadn't come. I mean, I know the Kohl's, that is a very high number of, you have to have a radius of houses. Yeah. And with it being in Decatur, Florence, and Madison, it makes it that way. But that's what I hear the most. But the biggest thing I still hear, of course, is just infrastructure deals. And but business-wise, it goes back to Italian restaurant. Really is the one I hear more than anything. And the Olive Garden rumor is the one I hear the most of. I mean,
we're not near big enough to get something like that,
so.
especially since Decatur's got one now and Huntsville's got one. Or do you know something I don't?
No, I don't.
All right, you've been on city council now, 2 years?
Yes, sir. I'm just a little past.
It's like I never will forget when Johnny Crutcher was up here on the show, when he was city council president. I asked him, I said, Johnny, what advice have you got for a city council? He said, don't answer your phone.
That's great advice.
Every time my phone rings, I think of him. I do, and it's.
He did say
He
that.
said that.
He does,
Yeah.
and I always wonder sometimes too, do people think I'm not? Because I'll come home and I'll get a message, and I know I missed a message the other day, and I heard it the next day, and I was freaking out calling him back. I was like, oh, I don't want them to think I didn't want to call him back, and so it's entertaining to call some people back because I've had a good chewing a time or two also, and but pretty much on those chewings, that's when I really wish I had taken his advice.
Being the youngest member of the city council, probably one of the youngest members they've ever had, has it been difficult, or has it been exactly what you kind of thought it would be?
Challenging or easier than you expected?
Some things have been challenging. I had no idea how I would have to really open my mind to certain things. I mean, I have the DNA that I'm raised on, and I can't go by that on everything. I have to be open-minded about some things. One thing that I can't believe how much has gone easy is jiving with the older guys. They're not old, but I mean, Wayne Harper, Harold Wells, Jimmy Gill, Chris Seibert, he's the oldest one. And we all get along great. I mean, it's Harold Wells, he cracks me up on a regular basis. And Wayne's just we always try to go to educational things together. He's a blast. I mean, we get along good, and we can actually, if you could be in some of these executive sessions, you'd see we don't always agree, and we get it out there. I mean,
but you've got the older people here, then you got you in there, and then you got you, and then Chris, and then the older bunch.
Different
so
views.
it's a good mix of folks in there.
And they know I can get feisty on some things, and so can some of the others. But it is kind of like Lucas was saying, you know, it's like the holidays. Sometimes we get together and maybe we don't need to be together, but we end up a family in the end.
Any new things on alcohol coming in here? I know in Rogersville they can sell 24/7. I mean 24/6 over there. Here you can't do that. And do you see Sunday sales becoming a thing? Because I know that used to be one of your platform things you believed in.
I see it happening. I see us voting on it at some point. It's you know, you're reading about it on revenue things. I'll go ahead and say it's not going to be one of those things. I read where somebody said something about the alcohol sales for the schools and how that's why they voted for it. I think if everybody in Athens bought a case of beer every day, and whether they drank or not, but everybody, then that might be enough to build schools up.
Yeah.
It's not a huge revenue thing to that point, but the Sunday sales part goes in more to also there's a lot of restaurants that may not want to come to have, you know, 6 days of sales and one of the biggest days not be able to. So that I'm not saying that would pull in your Italian restaurant or whatever, but things like that, those get discussed a lot by not just me or other council members. That there's a lot of people but there's also a lot of people that don't want it, and that's their prerogative. So that's why it needs to be voted on at some point.
That's why you're a city councilman.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna come up at some point. I don't know if it'll come up in the next 2 years. If it'll come up, I mean, I know it won't be up next week, but it's. Personally, I've decided after hearing back and forth, I'd like to see it be voted on by everyone, so everybody just understands, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think.
Well, thanks for coming up this morning, Joseph, one of my favorite folks of all time, coming in, filling in this morning. Hey, don't forget, too, coming up, Band of Brothers, the men's conference going to be going on at Lindsay Lane Baptist Church Friday, February 6th. That's the same time the rodeo was in Huntsville on Friday and Saturday night, too, over that way. But anyway, we have it down at Lindsay Lane Baptist Church. Dusty McLemore, Tim Anderson out at Clements, be combining. Last year we had about 500-600 out at Clements. This year we hope to have more than that down at Lindsay Lane. Thank you again, Joseph, coming up this morning. Tell your lowly bride we said hello, and your brother-in-law when you see him again.
Tell them all to wake up.
Yeah, we'll see y'all bright and early again tomorrow morning. See y'all.
Bye.
Local and loving it.